Coming up, we take an in-depth look at absolutely everything you can possibly know about remote mounting your thermal. So grab a cold one, kick back and enjoy. We cover all the mounts and brackets on the market for quickly attaching and detaching your thermal from your spotlight or directly to your handle. We go over all the different powering options, including how to wire up 2 switches on your handle so you can turn your light on and off while still powering your thermal. Then we take a look at some of the most popular ways you can mount a tablet or monitor in your ute or buggy. We compare the pros and cons of using your thermal wirelessly to a tablet or hardwiring it to a monitor. This way you can decide which method suits your needs. And lastly, we take a look at different handles and spotlights on the market, discussing some pros and cons of smaller and larger lights, as well as the differences between 12 volt and 24 volt halogen and HID and LED lighting options. If at any point during the review you want to skip through to the segment that you're most interested in, you can take a look in the comments and the description to see where you need to skip to find the information you want. Before we do though, a little plug for ourselves here. We sell everything you need to remote mount your thermal, from all the brackets to go to your lights, to the tablets, the monitors, the wiring, and the mounts for inside your cab, all the way through to a huge range of spotlights and remote handles. We have absolutely everything you need for remote mounting all in one place. You even get good discounts if you buy it all with your thermal. We price match and can have your order on your doorstep Australia-wide within 2 to 4 days. We test all the thermals on the market as well as accessories and have experience to give you the right information to make the best choice for your needs. Give us a call for advice, drop into our store or visit our website. We'll be glad to help. Now we take a look at all the different thermal remote mounting options available. We check out the WGIA brackets that wrap around the back of your light, allowing you to mount your thermal on top of your light. We take a look at the new Power Beam system, which you can buy the light with a bracket already attached to it, ready to go. Then we take a look at the 4 different Smart Rest options. That is the single QR mount that goes next to your light, the dual QR mount that allows you to mount your thermal and light off center, the rim top mount that bolts to the top rim of your light, and the QR adapter kit that can be used to make your own bracket or mount directly to your handle. There are pros and cons to all these, so stay tuned to find out which one is right for you. Wild Game Innovations Australia design and make very high quality thermal mounting brackets in Australia. They wrap around the back of the light and allow you to mount the thermal on top. They are designed to be light, strong, and are adjustable to allow you to balance your light and thermal, making even the biggest and heaviest lights easy to operate all night. The majority of lights on the market are not balanced from the factory and will fight you all night, making hard work for your arm, especially when you add a thermal to the mix. The WGIA brackets help solve this problem. Installed in each bracket is a 12 volt / 24 volt converter to power your thermal, so you don't have to worry about changing batteries. You can run a new line to power this or tap into your handle power. However, to be able to control your light independently from your thermal, you will have to do some minor rewiring, which we will cover in this review. Their brackets now have a quick release system that allows you to easily remove your light from the roof. Combine this with some high quality Deutsch connectors and removing your light becomes a breeze. In addition to that, they now have a quick release in the top of the bracket that you can attach to your thermal. This allows for easy attaching and detaching of the thermal from your light. If you don't like their quick release, you can still attach a smaller footprint quick release such as a Smart Rest one. Some people prefer this and it makes it easier to use by hand. Upgrade kits are available for their old brackets, which is awesome. The only brackets that mount a little different are for the firelight spotlights. These will be a two-part system, one bracket for the thermal and one for the spotlight itself. WGIA hasn't stopped there though. You can also get quick releases for your blazer light handle, which allows you to remove your handle easily from inside the cab. Once again, add some Deutsch connectors and you'll be able to remove your light and handle very quickly, keeping the missus and the police off your back. They are also introducing cradles made especially to hold your thermal more sturdily. Great for models that are weird shapes like the HIC Micro Condor. This helps protect your investment by thermally cradling your thermal so it can be remote mounted with confidence. I must say though, we haven't had any issues mounting the Condor yet, so this bracket is more of an extra assurance. WGIA also supply a bung that can be used to run the hardwired cables that won't fit through your handle. You will, however, have to drill an additional hole in your roof for this to work. If you're fitting your handle, light and thermal to a buggy, you will likely need to reinforce the roof to support the weight. WGIA have made these plates, one for the outside and one for inside the cab. All the holes are pre-drilled and they have different plates for different models of handles for ease of installation. You can then run extra cables through the bung, making it a nice, tidy and strong setup. There's plenty more products coming from WGIA in the future, such as wiring and switch management systems that mount on the inside, under your light, and on the roof as well. These kits aim to improve ease of installation and cable management. They are also working on console-style units as well to help with the same problems, but also account for mounting of your screen up higher in your buggy or ute. Not only that, they're working on a wireless switching system that you can integrate into your current light and handle. So it will be interesting to see what else they come out with. Once the new gear is available, we will have them on the website. If you have any issues at all mounting your bracket or doing your wiring, not only can you contact us at Bristle Up, but also Jeff from WGIA. He is very passionate about his products and will help you any way he can. For those short on time, we can fit the bracket to your light and ship it to you, and we can even do installations on site for you. Jeff from WGIA also offers the same services, so if you go to him, he will install the whole thing, the handle, the spotlight, the whole works for you. So if that's a service that you might be interested in, hit us up or make the selection during your checkout. Powerbeam are also releasing a light that has a mount already attached to it. You can't buy it separately just yet, but you can purchase the light with it already attached, ready to go. This compact tidy mount has a thermal charger built into it. You can mount your thermal to it and charge it as well. Coming out of the bottom of the light, we have a positive for the thermal charger and one for the light, so you can still wire up each to their own switch. For mounting the thermal itself, you can use the included Arca mount, attaching it directly to your thermal. This works perfectly fine and it's not going anywhere if you install it correctly. If you prefer the smaller Smart Rest clamp, you can mount that to the Arca rail, allowing you to take advantage of the new HIC Micro molded rails as well. It does, however, lift it up just a bit higher. Some people are concerned about having a thermal above their light and worried about it being knocked off by branches and things like that. I personally have never had this problem, but you might need to adjust your driving style to suit your setup. If you're used to doing some scrub bashing, maybe this is something to think about. The main downsides to this bracket are you won't be able to quickly remove the entire light from your roof like you can with the WGIA brackets. And there's still no out-of-the-box solution for balancing the light yet, so a bit of fiddling may be required to get it nice and balanced. Another benefit to the WGIA bracket is you can set up multiple vehicles with their light quick release and use one light and mount setup for all your vehicles, allowing you to just swap it between them. You can do a similar thing with the power beam lights using the Smart Rest solution, but it's not quite as sturdy and high quality. However, overall, Powerbeam has done a fantastic job on this design, and it is a nice, affordable solution set up, ready to go. So it's definitely worth considering if that's the way you want to go. Eagle Eye make the Smart Rest options. They are simple but effective mounts. They are affordable and have developed 4 different ways to mount your thermal, all with pros and cons. Let's dive in and take a look at each option. The rim top mount is a simple but effective bracket for mounting your thermal to the top of your light. They work with Powerbeam and Light Force lights quite well, with no issues we have seen yet. However, any light with a decent size shroud sticking out around the edge can accommodate this mount. Only 2 holes need to be drilled in the shroud to fit the mount, but if you like, you can use 4. But it's really not necessary. You can see with this light here, I've used a few different iterations of this mount installed, so ignore the extra holes. It works quite well, but you will likely have trouble balancing your light. And I wouldn't recommend putting a super heavy thermal on this mount, but the majority of thermals that people are mounting at the moment are perfectly fine. I'd like to quickly note here that this is exaggerated because the Powerbeam light itself isn't balanced. As you can see, it's clearly not centered on the handle. If you take the time to make a bracket, or maybe Powerbeam will release one that'll allow you to move your light further back and center it, this problem can be resolved. You won't see it as bad on other lights like the Light Force. The single QR mount allows you to mount your thermal next to your light by attaching the bar to your remote handle bolt under your light. This works great as a quick, cheap solution, but your light will want to fall to one side all the time, which if you do a lot of spotlighting, this can be annoying and straining on your arm over time. The bar supplied has many mounting holes available, allowing you to adjust your thermal position to the size of your light. As you can see in our display unit here, I've got a weird situation happening where I've joined 2 quick releases together. I do not recommend doing this in a real vehicle. It's just not a good idea. We've just done this for this display to make it easy to remove the light to demonstrate the different mounts. The dual QR mount allows you to mount your thermal on one side and your light on the opposite side in an attempt to better balance the system. This works okay and is better than the single QR mount, but is still not very effective at balancing the light and thermal properly. But with enough messing around, you should be able to get it pretty good. The quick release rail for the light itself is only suitable for the Powerbeam lights. So if you have any other light, you will likely have to bolt it directly to the bar by removing the quick release from one side. Just like the single QR mount, the bar on this one has many holes to position your light and thermal in the ideal spot for balancing, and with enough fine tuning, you get a decent result. If you don't need a light and just want to mount your thermal, you can use the Smart Rest QR adapter kit to mount directly to your handle. This does require drilling out the mount hole bigger for many handles, but it will fit onto all handles available. There, however, is a higher mount suitable for the Fire Stick, so if you do have a Firelight handle, you should be looking to buy the higher QR adapter kit. On the Blazerlight handle, you will need to cut the head off the bolt so it is double threaded, and use a nut to attach it to the handle. Or you could get some fully threaded rod. We will try to provide these extra parts in the future to make it easier for people. For now, you may need to do some DIY work. Almost all these brackets work with window mounted light setups, but what I would recommend is going with a smaller 7-inch Powerbeam or 170mm Light Force, either in halogen or HID. That's if you want to mount to a window remote handle system. This keeps the weight down, and you really don't need a big light when you have a thermal anyways. We're seeing a trend towards smaller lights. They are becoming more and more popular. Let's take a look at the quick release that all these mounts use. This lightweight quick release has a very small footprint, which is great for those wanting to still use their device by hand comfortably by quickly removing it from the roof. In fact, I use a WGIA mount on my setup and attach this quick release to the top of it because I still prefer this small footprint. WGIA has improved the use by hand ability of their quick release, but I still prefer this one for my use case. One of the biggest benefits to using a smart rest rail system is being able to have access to the charging ports on a lot of thermals that have the port underneath, something that you can't do with majority of other quick releases. Now, there are pros and cons for using this quick release. I find it becomes discolored quickly in the sun, and if you don't regularly lubricate the mechanism, it will rust and seize up much quicker than you would expect. In addition, this washer behind the lever wears out over time. So you will have to replace this quick release fairly often, could be every few months or every year or two, depending on how you take care of it. They are cheap and easy to replace though, so it's not a deal breaker for me. Eagle Eye are aware of these issues and are aiming to improve it in the next version of the quick release. HIC Micro has now made rails that offer more support for their thermals when remote mounted. They mold around the thermal more, giving multiple points of contact with a hard rubber lining for better support. These are a new release, but so far appear to be a good improvement on the standard flat rails. The best part is they will fit into the current Smart Rest clamping system or QR adapters, which is bloody awesome. HIC Micro is making different rails for each thermal model and currently have a rail to suit the Condors and a different rail to fit the Falcons and Lynx units. Alternatively, if you want a solid quick release solution that has some protection from sticks and branches as well, check out the light aluminium brackets from WGIA. Another option for those out there that don't want to put a hole in your roof and instead want a complete wireless solution, the Spider Bots from Eagle Eye are worth checking out. There is a few models to choose from, but essentially it's the same concept. It magnetizes to your roof or bonnet, your thermal attaches to it, and you control it wirelessly from within the cab. It's a great solution, and they are currently working on a brand new model that is going to be even better than the last one, so keep your eye out for that. There are many different ways to power your thermal, so you don't have to switch batteries throughout the night. We sell all these options on our website ready to go, so don't forget to support us to continue doing these reviews. By simply buying some stuff off us, you really help support us into the future. The most simplest thing you can do is plug a long USB-C power cable into your car's cigarette lighter and chuck it out the window and plug it into your thermal. If you do this though, zip tie the cable off to the light so if someone jerks it, then it won't damage the thermal's ports. You can also install a 4-wheel drive USB port on the headboard or somewhere close to the thermal and run your cable back to it. Another easy option for us lazy folks is to get a waterproof 10,000 or 20,000 milliamp night core power bank. Slap some super strong Velcro on the power bank and a bit somewhere on or near your roof, for example behind your light. Then run the cable from your thermal back to the power bank. That will give you 8 to 20 hours of runtime depending on your thermal and the power bank you chose. Now we move on to the more involved methods. They're still pretty simple but do require some work. If you have a Wild Game Innovations Australia bracket, you will already have a 12 volt / 24 volt converter with a USB-C plug to go to your thermal. If you don't have a WGIA bracket, we do recommend getting one, or you can buy just the converter from us and fit it to your current bracket using Velcro or 3M tape. The tricky part is getting power to the converter while also allowing you to turn your light on and off separately to your thermal's power. If you hook it directly up to your spotlight, then it will only power your thermal while the spotlight's turned on, which defeats the purpose of having a thermal in the first place. So here is what you can do. Turn both the wires going through your remote handle into positives. I do not advise removing the wires and putting new ones in, as this can be a quite painful job. Instead, turn both the black and red wires into positive lines, each going to their own switch. In my demonstration setup here, I have put the two red lines in. This is to reduce confusion while showing you how it works. Then you have a negative wire going to a bolt in your handle, supplying your earth to both your thermal and your light on the roof. Alright, we're going to quickly run through how to wire up your light with two switches, one to power your thermal and one to power your light. Now firstly, you have your positive and negative coming from the battery. We'll take a look at the negative first. The negative will go to a bolt on your handle and carry the negative through to the roof, where you can split it into two, and one negative will go to your light and one negative will go to your thermal power. Let's take a look at the positive coming from the battery. It'll go to your first switch and you'll double it up and bunny hop it to your second switch. This will create power in on both switches and make them live. When either switch is turned on, the power will travel through the switch and into the two positive wires going to the roof. These two positives travel through your handle up onto your roof. Then you'll have a positive to go to your converter for your thermal power and a positive going to your light. This will allow you to control the thermal with one switch and your light with the other switch. Alternatively, you can run a new line directly to your converter from your battery, so it has its own power supply separate to your spotlight. Alright guys, that's the main methods used to supply permanent power to the thermal while you have it remote mounted. Now you could always just simply swap the batteries out if you have replaceable batteries for your thermal throughout the night. If you have internal batteries, but this can be a big problem as you'll have to remove the thermal to charge it. Another option is available for power beam handles. They recently released upgrade kits with a larger tube to be able to carry more cables through the handle itself. I'm told new handles will come with this by default. This means you can put the two positive wires and earth wire through the handle itself, giving you another method for wiring up your thermal and light to separate switches. We are also doing the same thing with blazer light handles, and we'll have 3 cables through it out of the box for your convenience. Though I do still think using one of your handle bolts as an earth is just as effective solution for this problem. Let's start by taking a look at the different ways you can mount a tablet in your vehicle. This applies to both buggies and utes. The best mounts we have found are the ram mounts. They are the most reliable, and a lot of their parts are interchangeable and perfectly designed for our use case. The most complicated thing to learn about ram mounts is the sizing system. All parts come in sizes A through to E, with the most common ones used for our purposes being B and C sizes. The thing to understand is B size parts do not work with C size parts, and so on. As long as you understand that, you can't go wrong. By far the best mounts for holding your tablet are the X-grip mounts. There is a cradle option as well, but it's not universal and doesn't adjust its size as per the tablet shape properly. These X-grips can be used with all the mounting methods we will discuss here. They do have some different sizing options for different sizes of tablets, but essentially you have one for the larger tablets and then a slightly different design for the smaller tablets. The most common way to mount your tablet is using this X-grip dual suction window mount. Now you can get a single version of this and a triple version. We have found the single isn't reliable enough and the triple is overkill. The dual works perfectly. These suction cups can be replaced, but you should rarely have to replace them. It's good to know you can if needed though. With all the RAM mount systems, you have the option between the 1-inch B-size balls and arms or the 1.5-inch C-size balls and arms. The bigger arms can offer more stability, but for most people are not needed. You can also get longer and shorter arms in both B and C sizes. That is, if you need to extend your screen out further or drop it down lower. If you don't have a window but have a nice flat surface, you can combine your window mount with these sticky pads, and these are very strong. If you clean the surface properly and apply them correctly, they're not going anywhere. You can still remove them with a hairdryer if you ever need to though. If you have a curved surface that you want to mount to, we have these RAM mounts adhesive size B balls that you can mount your X grip to. These are not, however, available in the bigger size balls. They are much stronger than you might think, and if you want to have extra support, you can even use 2 of these next to each other going to your X grip using B-size arms. This is a great non-permanent option for mounting to the dash in your car or buggy. You can also screw down the RAM mounts using the round base that comes with the B-size or C-size balls. They have 7 holes to choose from, and this method works quite well in buggies, ATVs, and even in your ute. Some people use this method to screw to the vehicle frame near the revision mirror in some vehicles. You can even use this in a double arm configuration with either B-size parts or bigger C-size parts. You screw down both bases, which goes back to your arms and then to your X grip, creating the most stability possible. This is overkill though, and only for true enthusiasts. We have U-clamp options available as well. A single U-clamp for the B-size arms that you can clamp onto a bar from 13mm up to 32mm, and a double U-clamp for the C-size arms that can clamp onto a bar from 25 to 32mm. Most people will opt for the screw down or bolt down option over this one, but this can be a good option for ATVs, buggies, and maybe your shooting bar for those that have drop down windscreens. We also have these hose clamp style mounts that are great for the bigger bar work you see in a lot of buggies. They wrap around the bar and can be tightened up for a firm fit to hold your tablet or monitor. There are 2 main styles of these hose clamps, both available in B and C sizes. One has a much larger clamp than the other, but I guess you could cut them to size. They also come with a rubber sleeve you can cut to size and slide over the clamp. However, all of these mounts would fit the biggest buggy bar work I have seen, so just pick the one that is most suitable for your application. Next we have something a bit different, the X grip flexi arm setup. This one can mount to the bolt on the floor or your seat in your buggy or ute. A long bendable, quite solid aluminium bar extends from it up in front of you. It mounts using B-size arms, but it works better than you might think, and we have a few people using these, but it's personally not my preference. Moving on, let's take a look at the mounting options for monitors. There are only 2 serious options available to those wanting to go hardwired. The best way to mount a monitor is using a Visa mount. This bolts to the 4 holes on the back of the monitor and only supports the bigger C-size balls and other parts. Monitors can be dual suction window mounted, much the same as tablets, but as stated only work with C-size parts, which isn't a bad thing. C-size parts are bigger and can hold more weight. You can also use the adhesive suction cups if you have a flat surface to stick to, just the same as in the tablet scenario. But you can't use the flexible adhesive mount as it's only available in B-size balls at the time of filming. Monitors can also be mounted using the larger C-size double U-clamp mount, which is able to clamp to a bar 25mm to 32mm in diameter. You can also use the hose clamp options in the C size if you would like to go to a bigger bar in a buggy. Lastly, monitors can be screwed down or bolted down much the same as the tablet option. Using the C size round base plate, you have 7 holes you can choose from to attach it to a part of your vehicle or something you have designed yourself. Well, that covers just about all the options we have discovered so far for mounting both tablets and monitors in your vehicle. If we do find some other additional ways, we will have them available on our website. Remote wireless setups work by creating a local Wi-Fi network between your thermal and a phone or tablet. Your thermal would be mounted on the roof of your vehicle or on a window-mounted remote handle. Meanwhile, the tablet or phone is mounted inside the cab. Thankfully, you do not require phone reception for this to work. There are pros and cons, however. The good things are you can quickly mount it, you don't need to run cables, and switching between different vehicles is easy. You can also control the thermal settings from within the cab, record, zoom in and out, change color palettes, and much more. A lot of tablets these days are waterproof already or have waterproof cases available, which is another benefit for the wireless method. However, not all thermals perform well wirelessly. Image quality degradation can occur, sometimes not so bad, but sometimes unusable on many models. Interference from devices in your vehicle can cause lagging and glitching, particularly on models that use 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi, which is 99% of all thermals at the time of filming. In most cases, this is related to the stereo system, particularly in Hiluxes and Land Cruisers. To get a good result, you may have to remove the fuse for the stereo or install a switch to cut power to it. Unfortunately, turning the stereo off will not help. We did do another longer in-depth video on this issue. You may want to look that up. We expect to see more and more thermals using 5 GHz instead of 2.4 GHz in the future, which appears to solve the interference problems. But for now, we have very few options. I use thermals wirelessly. It's my preferred method, and I get really good, reliable results. You just need to be aware of the potential problems and buy a model that suits wireless mounting. That's one of the benefits from buying from us, is getting good, up-to-date advice. Hardwired systems use cables to carry the video signal to a monitor. Sadly, you can't hardwire to a tablet, at least at this time. There, however, is talk that some brands are going to try and introduce the ability to hardwire to a tablet. Let's hope that this does indeed happen. The pros to this are you can get the absolute best image quality possible, you remove any chance for interference and lagging, it's also more affordable and reliable. The cons are you have to run cables for power and video signal. These cables can become damaged and need replacing from time to time. If they are not installed correctly, they can also wear away the ports in your thermal, which then will require repair from your manufacturer. We have had this happen from time to time on some units. This seems to be very rare, but it does happen. You also can't control the thermal from the monitor, so recording and zooming is not possible. There is a workaround for this on some models. You can connect your thermal hardwired to a monitor for video signal and connect your phone to the Wi-Fi at the same time. This way you can use your phone like a remote control. Another problem is monitors are not waterproof, and currently there are no good options to protect them when in use in buggies. You have to either take the monitor down until the rain passes or cover the screen with a big sandwich bag or something similar to give it a bit of protection. Many brands and models use different specially made cabling to allow the video output from the thermal to the monitor. We have been doing kits for these for over 2 years now. that suit HIC Micro, Infrared, Thermtech, Guide, Nighttech, Leica, and many more. Some work very similar and others are quite different indeed. There are two main ways different models of thermals use to output video to a monitor. Number 1. Using a specially designed splitter cable made to suit your model of thermal. This allows you to split the cable into two from the USB port on the thermal. This creates a separate cable for the video signal and one for power. You can either have the splitter cable on the thermal end of the setup and run two cables inside the cab, or you can run a single cable into the cab and split it inside the cab. If you have the splitter cable inside the cab, you can have charging issues and static show up on the screen depending on the thermal model you're using. It also depends how long of a cable that you're using to extend the USB-C port. If it's really long, the issue can be more exaggerated. But generally speaking, it's usually more reliable to split it on the thermal end of the setup. In addition to this, some thermals do not allow you to power the thermal while it's hardwired. So it's important to consider this when making your purchase. Another benefit of splitting the line on the thermal end of your setup is you can power the thermal via a different power source on the roof, such as a 12 volt / 24 volt converter connected to your light power. That way you only need to run the video cable into the cab, and this removes any potential charging or display issues from doing it the other way. Number 2. Some thermals like the Infrared Finder series have a separate video output, usually a HDMI port. This allows you to have a high quality HDMI cable carry the video signal to your monitor, all while powering the thermal using the USB-C port. Keep in mind, I have not been able to see a massive difference in image quality between using HDMI or using the USB-C method. Where we do see some quality differences is in the quality of the monitor used. We have many different types and sizes of monitors ranging from 7-inch up to 13 inches. We have models suited to Infrared Finders and models suited for the other brands. Most people go with the 10-inch, but if you want a truly big screen experience, the 13 inches is impressive viewing. But it also takes up a lot of space in the cab. We hope this helps you decide whether wireless or hardwired is better for you. I do hope you will come over to the website or visit our shop and support us. Once again, we do price match and we can have your order delivered to you within 2 to 4 days Australia-wide in 99% of cases. Let's discuss the different handles. Blazerlight has been one of the most widely used handles among harvesters and professionals now for decades. They're made right here in Australia and are affordable as well. Out of all the handles on the market, they have the most options available, varying in length and features to what you want to use it for. Shorter ones more suited to buggies, some with fold-up features and some without. You can get parts for them easily and they are comfortable to use. There's multiple holes in the handle itself, which allows you to add more than one switch so you can control the power to your light and your thermal separately. Overall, a fantastic handle. The Firelight handles are the only ready-to-go fully wireless system on the market that, once set up, can allow you to spin your light all the way around without tangling up the wires. They work great and are a good option for those hunting from utes, but they don't offer a shorter handle for buggies at this stage. The wireless system will work with all the lights on the market, not just the Firelight ones, which is a bonus. Not only that, they also sell spare parts. Without modification though, it can be hard to wire up a second switch to control your thermal separate to the light. However, there is a solution in the works to solve this problem. The PowerBeam RC500 handles are another popular option. They work with all lights on the market and have a strong, sturdy design, with a nice locking mechanism at the top. They come in two configurations, the original long handle, or you can remove the middle section and mount it directly to the top part of the handle to make a short option. It's important to note that if you are using a big light or a thermal and light combination, having a too short of a handle can make the system hard to balance and operate. The longer the handle usually means the better leverage you will have, so it's about finding the right balance. You can also easily add a second switch by drilling an additional hole in the handle, allowing you to control power to your light separate from the thermal. Overall, it's a great handle option with spare parts available as well. As for spotlights, we stock Power Beam, Light Force, Firelight and Blazer Light spotlights. They all have their pros and cons, but the biggest thing to keep in mind, if you are using thermal, you're unlikely to use your light as much unless you're shooting under light a significant amount of the time. So if you don't plan on using your light very often, I'd get one of the smaller Power Beam 7 inches or Light Force 170mm lights, or even the 240mm Light Force as well. Even though it's a bit bigger, it's still very light due to its plastic construction. Another smaller option is the LED spotlight from Blazer Light. Though there is limited mounting options to attach your thermal to it, it's still worth considering. I use one of these for years and it's not the brightest light, but it works just fine. I'd avoid the bigger, heavier lights like the 9-inch and the 11-inch power beams. These are mostly unnecessary with the introduction of thermals into the market. If you want a lightweight but still pretty bright light, consider going a 24-volt Firelight spotlight. They have a very nice wide, bright beam that turns on instantly. The drawback, however, is they are not suitable for buggies in most cases, as the amp draw is quite high. You can run them in 12 volt instead if you like. It won't be as bright but will work just fine. The next thing to consider is the type of technology to go with. Halogen 12 volt, halogen 24 volt, HID or even LED. Well, if you want instant light with no warm up, go 12 volt or even 24 volt halogen. The color produced by these lights tends to make it easier to identify animals than with many of the HID or LED options. Now, the 24 volt option offers better distance at the expense of high amp draw. You will have to change bulbs on halogen systems from time to time though. If you want longer lasting bulbs and brighter than 12 volt halogen experience and have lower amp draw, consider going HID. Keep in mind the warm up time can be a little annoying if you are not using the light much throughout the night. As for LED, if you want instant turn on with low amp draw and decent brightness, plus long lasting bulbs, the Blazer Light one is worth checking out. I personally have found the 12 volt halogen smaller lights are becoming very practical in combination with a thermal. For most people, that's all you need nowadays, but if you are a professional kangaroo harvester, for example, it may be beneficial to get a brighter, longer distance light, particularly for those hotter months when the thermal doesn't work quite as well. But anyways, I hope this information helps you decide which setup is right for you. If you're still unsure, give us a ring and we'll definitely help you make the right decision.